All right, guys, welcome to episode 16 of It's Personal and Entrepreneurs podcast. We have a kind of unique guest, Cody, with us. Cody is actually the owner of the production company that we use to put on our podcast. So it's a very cool. He actually helped us set this up and get it into production. So to finally have him here on it is kind of a special treat for us. And we're very thankful you were able to join us.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely no stranger to the podcast. We're just more behind the camera, so a lot of people don't see it, but yeah, we're definitely behind the camera. I think I've been on every single episode shoot, I think, except for one.
Maybe one.
You were at like P. Diddy's music video or something. Rick Ross. Yeah. that one you missed.
Yeah,
that's a good excuse.
Yeah, but thanks for having me on. And you guys, the content you guys create, and is really, really good. I get so much from it. So, me listening to the podcast every single time, I always feel like I apply some of those things I learned from them for sure, and apply it to what I do with my business.
You've probably watched more hours of this podcast than anyone else, I would imagine.
Yeah, I listen to listening to it, and then having to go back and edit it and listen to it all over again. So yeah,
this portion of the analytics are what hype us up.
Yeah. So, as you know, I love to start by asking people a little bit about their personal background and their story and how they got into doing what they're doing now. Obviously, now you're the owner of One Shot Productions or Creations, I should say.
Creations, yeah.
And so we'll talk a little bit about what all the stuff you guys do with your company is, but I would like to talk a little bit about just your background and which I know a little bit about, and how you got into even doing that.
Yeah, man. So I grew up in Fort Walton, went to all the schools in Fort Walton, graduated from Fort Walton Beach High School in 2008. Upon graduating, I was going to play football, and that was my thing.
What position did you play?
Wide receiver.
Okay.
Yeah, but I got into a fight over a girl in high school, and all football dreams went out the window. So I ended up joining the Army, and did 6 years in the Army, and I was actually going to do the full 20 years, get my 20 years, retire. Everything I did in the military, I was so proud of, and never thought the things that I did in the military, never thought I'd ever do in a lifetime. So, but I always wanted to do something bigger and do something for myself. And I was always a creative person. And actually, when I got out of the military, I actually went to school for music production, and I was actually going to do music. But then
you went to Full Sail, right?
Yeah, I attended Full Sail, and I got my bachelor's in digital cinematography there in film. But I switched from music to video production, and I was actually, a dream of mine was to work for Sony Motion Pictures or Universal Studios, and be on those big film sets, do all that. But then I realized I'm a big people person, and I've always enjoyed entrepreneurship. And I literally, in the middle of college, I kind of changed my dream. I was like, what if I just did this on my own and did my own company and do the things how I wanted it to be done?
Yep.
So I decided to start my company doing One Shot Creations. And I really wanted, when I started the company, I really wanted to change the traditional 9 to 5. I really get inspired by Google work. You ever seen Google's workplace, their actual environment is a very creative space, and everybody's just
comfortable,
very comfortable. It's not really a traditional 9 to 5 type of job. So I wanted to provide that for people in the area, because me, it's I love to travel. I love experiences. I love to experience anything that this world has to offer. I used to race cars just to do it. I've jumped out of airplanes. I've anything. That seems interesting, I'm going to try it.
Yeah, at least try it once.
Yeah. But traveling the world and being able to see what the world provides outside of, the
and getting
coast.
to document it too.
Yeah. I wanted to be able to do that. So with starting the company, it kind of gave me the freedom to be able to travel a lot more and stuff like that. So that's what I've been applying myself and doing.
So what is it that made you, because you were going to Full Sail for music production, what made you want to make the switch?
Well, actually, so to correct that, I was at Northwest Florida State College for music production. And then once I realized, music really wasn't going to take me that far, I realized, and actually I had a professor at that college, I won't even say his name, but he actually persuaded us to get out of music.
Okay.
And what he told us was, if you're really trying to, really make a big career out of music, you're not really going to make a lot of money. A lot of big artists have their own studios and their own people.
True.
So it kind of like made me think. And then, I actually did a lot of video work for the company I worked with. So I was like, what, let me solidify my skills with video, go to college. So, I got my A in music production, and then switched over and then got my bachelor's.
Got
in
it.
video.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, here, this is where I'm at today. So the company's I started the company in 2020, January of 2020 during the COVID
Tough
era.
time to start.
Good time to start.
Yeah. It was very challenging because I was actually the operations. Sorry, at that time I was the line manager at the private airport in Destin.
Okay.
So I was working that and I was running my company on the side, and I realized the amount of work that I was getting and trying to do both. I knew I had to grow a team to get to
be able to handle
Where you wanted to go,
where I wanted to go. Yeah. So I ended up stepping down. I was actually in line for a job promotion and I turned it down, and I was like, I'm going to, I was at a job making 6 figures, and I was like, I'm gonna step away from this and
commitment
and just really dive in and commit to it.
It's really the only way to make it work at some stage, right? There's a stage where you have to start and still be doing something else and have earned income, but then there always becomes an inflection point, I feel like, where you have to say, if I'm really going to do this, I have to get rid of the safety net.
Yeah. And it's, the thing is that, like, because I was passing up on opportunities all the time because I had, my job I had to do. So it was like, I'm never going to get further with this unless I really dedicate more time and take advantage of my opportunities. So, what they always say all the time, and I preach it to my guys, is, take advantage of every opportunity you have, because you never know what door that opportunity will open for you.
It's true. It's even like, yesterday we were talking, we're in like this 6-week sales program with a bunch of other guys right now.
Yeah.
And, they're one of the guys I was talking to, we had a Zoom call, and it was a really long Zoom call, good Zoom call. And then I told Andrew, I was like, man, I should have been prospecting, doing this or that.
Yeah.
But then like he reached out several days ago and has a development opportunity for us that's pretty big that we're looking into now. So it's just all those even little opportunities to have a call, connect with someone else, all those things, you got to take advantage of all.
Yeah.
You never know what they're leading to.
And, it's, I remember like right when I was getting the company off the ground, and I had this guy just call me up and was like, hey, I'm from Tennessee. We actually have a wedding on 30A on Saturday. And he called me on a Thursday. Usually people, when they book weddings, they plan that stuff years out.
Somebody bailed on him or something? Or?
Yeah. And, they just really didn't plan for it till last second.
That's
like,
crazy.
Our weddings, we have this big wedding. We're going, we just need a videographer.
To document it,
Yeah. So I almost turned it down because I really don't take last minute second jobs like that. But I always had that thought process, like, hey, take advantage of every opportunity.
Could be something else.
Who was that person?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I got to the wedding it was on a Saturday, 2 days later, I actually, I didn't have any help. So it was just me, because I usually, every project we do, we have more than just one person on. But since it was the last second,
You didn't have time.
I didn't have to. Yeah. So we show up to the wedding, and the guy's like, he's NF's manager, and he's the rapper NF, which I didn't even know who he was at first.
I've seen him live before.
Yeah. I didn't really know. I've heard all of his songs, but I didn't really put a name to it.
Yeah,
so I looked him up. But they're like, oh yeah, this is his sister's wedding. I couldn't tell you anything just because
we didn't want you to come just because of that, basically.
Yeah. So I remember I was manning 4 cameras and a drone at that wedding.
That's crazy.
And I was super nervous afterwards. So I'm like, oh man, this is a big deal now. I got to make sure I deliver on it.
And did I do it right?
So by myself, working like crazy, manning these cameras, getting everything done. And the video came out great. They loved it. And it opened the door with me working with like music videos in that music industry.
That's very cool.
That's awesome.
It's what I'm saying. You just never know like what interaction or what client, like even in real estate, you could have a client call you about selling $100,000 tract of land.
Yeah.
But these people own millions of dollars worth of properties, right? You just never really know. You got to pursue every opportunity.
That's it. So, from there, I remember getting a call like a month later, and they're like, hey, we're doing a music video with Wiz Khalifa. And, I'm just impressed by your camera skills. We just need a camera guy. And I was like, and that just taking advantage of that little opportunity, You know,
snowballed.
Because I almost said no. You know what I mean? So I was like, imagine if I would, you know, but
especially you don't have somebody to go with you, all that stuff. You could have gotten your own way on
It would
that.
have been very easy to say no.
Yeah.
90% of people would have said no.
Yeah. So-
And it that one experience did what for one shot creation?
Yeah, that one experience really opened that was like the break I needed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it kind of got me through the door, and it just, you know, obviously like stuff like that, people want to work with you. They want to be able to do stuff like that too. So being able to provide that for people, and, you know, I have like employees that are, you know, 20, 21 years old, and being able to go on a shoot and do that, you know.
And it's cool too, because, you know, just calling out the truth, the Panhandle has a lack of creative outlet, I would say, for, you know, for people who are really good at those types of things. And so to have a company that provides something like that for some people, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know Panama City, they have some big wigs out here in Pensacola, and there really isn't much. And I mean, there's some companies in between there. Yeah. But I think we'd have like one of the biggest ones in Okaloosa County.
Yeah, I agree.
I know a lot of people out there, but it's always it's a solo entrepreneur. Like they're by
it's not a team.
You know, it's not a team thing. And
you guys are really the only like team that I know of. Yeah, really.
I know some. I remember researching out here in Panama City. There's a couple big ones out here, but I know they do like a lot of big like short films and stuff like that. So, and then one Khalifa Films in Pensacola. They're a really good company too as well. But yeah, find that middle, being there, and you know, I go to like the PSA meetings and stuff like that. And, you know, which is like a meeting they have, like a lot of these creatives, videographers and stuff, they'll come together and they have a meeting once a month. Yeah. And, you know, the biggest thing was with all the there's so many creatives there. And a lot of them, like I get inquiries all the time. People want to work with us. Cause like the hard thing is that these guys you don't know when your next job is coming.
Right. It's not consistent.
It's not consistent at all. So, I actually have a mentor that's actually, he's guided, like I talk to him at least once a month, and he's guided me, and, you know, I found a way to secure jobs and consistency and be able to provide full-time payroll for
which is awesome. So. Yeah. Consistency, like real estate's very similar, but anything, insurance, real estate, videography, anything that's like entrepreneurial but job based. Yeah. It's anytime you can provide someone some consistency in a world like that and have confidence in that it's going to stay like that, that's huge, because it's not an easy industry to achieve that.
It's not. And, you know, there's different talents. You know, everybody has different strong points in what they do.
What part of the business they fit into. Yeah,
because by Kino, he loves music videos and, you know, the music video types of stuff. But he still does the other stuff. Yeah. And then I have Noah. He's really good with the real estate stuff. So, and he's really grown in that. So I always try to and we're very diverse in the content that we create. Yeah. So,
which is good. Yeah. That helps with the consistency.
So we always try to get the people, you know, because we do a lot of real estate work. Yeah. So you know, it's like, hey, I definitely want to get people who are good with real estate, video coverage and stuff like that. So
let me ask you this. Let's rewind and then kind of fast forward. Yeah. So you started in 2020. Mm-hmm. Who all was involved? And then like, how big was the team? Was it just you?
Yeah, actually it was, when I first started in 2020, I actually had a business partner. His name was Johnny. He's still a good friend of mine to this day. I was in the Army with him. Okay. And, you know, I just remember we were working at the airport, and I was like, hey, I want to do this. I wanted someone to go in with it with me, because I know it's a
big challenge at that point.
Yeah, it's a big challenge at that point. So I remember I was like, hey, let's do this. We came up with the name. We're looking up, making sure nobody had the name, and then I created the logo that night, and it was just I was so pumped up.
You were at it, yeah.
So after 8 hours after having this idea, I had the name, the logo, and I was ready to go. Yeah. And during that COVID era, we had to, managing the airport, we had to furlough a lot of our employees.
I had to do some of that back then too. Yeah.
So it was me, the line manager, the general manager, and then our CSR manager. And that was it, working the airport. And obviously we were slow because everything was closed down.
Sure, not a lot happening.
But for a month though.
And then Florida opened back up.
Back up, and it was just mayhem, crazy. Yeah. Well, in the meantime, I was trying to operate my business at the same time as, doing my job at the airport.
Keeping an income.
Yeah. And my business, or my partner, was actually one of the guys I had to furlough. So I tried to lean on him a little bit to
do the business.
A little
the
more free
business.
time on his
But I
side.
ended up running the business like 90% of it by myself. So I was like, hey, I think it's just best that if I'm doing all the work, I might as well reap all the benefits of it. So
Get that.
we had a mutual agreement on it, and I ended up doing it by myself. But it was more of like a side hustle thing, more than anything. Until I realized I really want to make a career out of it.
Yeah.
So from there to now, how big is your team?
We have 6 people on our team right now.
That's awesome.
And we actually just brought on another guy. He actually lives in LA. He's an editor for us.
Cool.
So he's gonna be doing some editing jobs.
Cool, very cool.
From LA, and we're steadily growing. I'm projecting to be around like 8 or 9 by the end of this year.
Yeah.
That I want to be at. So
That's awesome.
I never imagined I was even gonna be that big.
Yeah,
either.
sure.
Yeah.
But it just happened. You know, I guess
The best businesses just happen because you're filling a need that people have, solving problems.
Yep, absolutely. And I just we just steadily keep growing and growing and growing. I think it's just I very pride ourselves on our reputation and the integrity of our work and making sure we're putting the best
back
out
your
there.
work.
Yeah.
So what all services do you provide, just for our listeners and everything? What kind of stuff do you do?
Real estate, commercial advertisement, event coverage, weddings. I mean, anything, music videos, anything video wise, we definitely, we can definitely do. And a big part of it is
Podcasting, obviously.
Podcasting for sure. But the big thing of it is that which I really had to teach this is hey, even though we like something the way we think is best, we have to do what's best for our client, because our clients envision something on what they want, like a commercial or something to look like, and we have to do our best to
Deliver on that.
match that vision.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge. That's the biggest challenge, is kind of
because you kind of have your creative outlook on it, but they might have their vision. You kind of have to get the two things as close to each other as possible.
Exactly. But when we have the clients are hey, you have full creative freedom on it. That's when it gets really fun.
Yeah.
And get very creative.
That's kind of how we like to hire anyone we use for marketing or anything, because that's not my forte. So I don't want to tell people how to do what they do. You know what I mean? Yeah, that makes sense though. That's got to be kind of a difficult process sometimes, especially if people have a very vivid picture of what they want in their head.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that might not be the best way to do it.
It's just like real estate clients that have a very vivid picture of how the transaction is going to unfold.
That's true.
And they're going to control every aspect of the process. And regardless of whether you're the professional or not. It's my commercial, so I'm going to control it.
Your customer's always right.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, your customer is the reason why you have the business.
Exactly.
So there's a happy medium between both of them.
Exactly.
Are there any I would say, are there any connections from your time in the military that are helping with you being an entrepreneur and running a business that you can draw from?
Honestly, all my leadership skills.
Okay. Makes sense.
I'd say my leadership skills. I mean, the military paid for a lot of my schooling, so that was
The
a big
determination to leave a six-figure income to
Create a business.
But honestly, I think if I had to give anybody props or any credit for the success that we've had thus far, I'd say is my mentor, Mark Davenport. He's actually from Oklahoma. He's a guy that actually was a client that used to fly into the Destin airport.
Okay.
And me, I'm all about hey, if someone treats you right, treat them even better. So this guy, a little bit about him and our history. I've known him since 2016. 2014.
Okay.
About 10 years now. And he would fly in, and he had he bought a brand new Mercedes, and that's his car that he's kept here in Florida.
Yeah.
And the guy would tip us $100, boom.
Yeah.
I'm that's
That's
really
nice.
That's nice. Well, what I really gained respect from him was we had damaged his car. We had an employee that backed his brand new Mercedes into a golf cart and busted the taillight and everything like that. Yeah. And so we took care of his car, and we got it fixed. And I remember when his car was finished and he was in town, I personally grabbed his car and I delivered it to him to his house.
Yeah.
And he gave me $500, and he's like, I appreciate you. And I'm like,
he tipped you $500 for damaging his vehicle.
So after that, I was like, this guy, really this is a really nice guy that really appreciates us. So I always try to find ways to, do things for him.
Yeah.
So like I would, like when he'd fly in, I'd start detailing his car, and I would get his car clean,
Top notch before he got there.
Yeah, when he got there, and I'm like, this is, I just appreciate you. That just became the thing, and it's
cool.
I'd find different things. Like I knew that he had Diet Coke.
So you'd have it in the car when he got there.
So I put Diet Coke in there, and then like his girlfriend or whatever, I'd put a water in there for her, and just kept doing it. And when I left the company to run my business, he cut me a big check. I'll put it that way.
That's cool.
So because at this point now, he's like letting me know when he's on his way, and then his pilot will. So I'll get his car and everything prepped up. So after I left the company, I still went out there and I did that stuff for him. Yeah. And he was very appreciative, and he's like, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to see you again, but this is just me showing my appreciation to you. So he cut me this big check, and I'm just like, man, I was just...
He invested in you as a person.
Yeah. So, but he saw me as a, person that's like, I used to manage that airport, and that airport's so busy, and I'm still doing all the things to make sure every client is
the little details
and everything like that. And that's what he kind of like took me under his wing, and he like, offers mentorship to me. So like when he'd fly in, he would literally like take time out of his day and schedule a meeting with me, and we'll sit on the beach and we'll have our computers out, and he's going over numbers with me, and he's coaching me. And
very cool.
He invested in what he can see that he knows you can be.
Yeah, he did.
And that tells a lot for you individually and the small actions you took throughout that timeline.
One of the things that, our coach always said that I think resonates in that situation is that everyone needs something to believe in, someone to believe in, and somebody to believe in them.
Absolutely.
And that's the truth.
And that is right, because like when he believed in me,
it made you believe in leaving.
It made me really believe in what I was doing, and it's like I didn't want to fail him either. You know what I mean? He really believed in me that much, and it's just like
Coach Burt says the 4 most powerful words in the English language are "I believe in you." Yeah, which is true.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think going back to the root of that, like when you're talking about those little details, the Diet Coke, the water, it reminds me of something that Andrew, when he was doing beach service, used to do, and people would be confused on why he was making more tips than everybody else, right? Because when people would come up and lay in their chair, he would go brush their feet off of sand. Yeah. Little and bring them a drink and little things like that. And so he would make a lot of tips, even if he wasn't selling more chairs or selling banana boat rides or renting jet skis.
I would work the smaller beaches, and kids would get mad at me because I would come back at the end of the day to check-ins. We go to this one place at check-in where all 30 beach attendants come and check in and give their money back to the boss. I would come in, working a 40-chair beach when other people were working 120, 150-chair beaches. I'm like, man, I got $600 in cash tips in my pocket.
And I think the testament to those two things are, look where focusing on the details got you. Right? He's made a ton of connections on the beach that we still utilize from just random people that were on vacation. And I even think back to, when I was managing dental practices, all the little things that I did for the doctors that own them in the background that I definitely didn't have to do.
You don't portray those things. You don't talk about them. You just do them.
Yeah, and you still have relationships with those people. And I think it's a testament, though, like at all those situations, none of us were necessarily at our final destination or where we want it to be. But instead of focusing on that, we just did our jobs really well and intrinsically took care of people and focused on details. And I think if you do that, and then when you do become an entrepreneur, you carry those things with you, there's no way you can't be successful.
Yeah. And it's, carrying, and it's like teaching those traits too as well. And he told me, he was like, who was your best boss? Cause it's big. He's like big on leadership. He's like, hey, cause he told me the most important thing is going to be your team. Cause you can't do what you do without your team.
Without a team,
And you can't please your clients if you don't have, if your team is not on board as well with you. So it's like, because he told me, he's like, you have good quality traits. You got to teach those good quality traits with your team. And he told me he's like, imagine the best boss you ever had. And like, what are those things that made him such a great boss? And if it works for you, mimic your best boss in your own version and treat your employees that way, and you'll be surprised on how solid your team will have your back and everything like that. So
I also challenge myself sometimes to think about the worst boss I had. and what made me feel like that's the person that was the worst boss, and what did they do that I didn't like or I didn't adjust to, or, because in the same sense, mimic and do the things that your favorite boss did to lead you, but also think back and recollect on the things that you experienced with the boss you don't like, so you don't be that person to your team.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think people, not to make it more like a bigger deal than it is, I think, but I think people spend, the majority of their lives at work. That's the truth. A lot of people
working and sleeping.
And so when you think about that, the impact that you can have on people as a business professional, whether they're your clients or they work for you, is massive. That carries to when they go home with their families. It carries to their personal time, their sense of self-worth, their future. And so I think it's not really a small undertaking. And so being really intentional about how you treat those people and the information you provide them, reaching and giving them that same information that someone took the time to give you is a huge undertaking, and one that's really important. I think you can actually, if we had better leaders in the workplace, you could actually change a lot of problems that exist, I think, emotionally and spiritually in the world with people.
Just having the right people in the right positions. Like, I think of my worst boss, and I'm just like, and I can just see, because I've been the employee. I've had bosses, and it's like what did I not like as being an employee? And me, like being in a corporate company, I just felt like I was just a number. You know what I mean? And
what feeling did they give me when I showed up, and what did I want to feel like?
Exactly. Right? And so applying that, like I can think of my first boss. I remember this guy was brand new, didn't have any experience working, on a flight line, but then I could just see everybody, because he was a boss, like he was right above me, but we had employees that we managed together.
Yeah, colleagues but peers at the same time.
But I remember him coming at me, and he's like, "Why does everybody have so much respect for you and not me?" And I'm like, because I believe in being out there and getting down and dirty with
them.
Even though I was a line manager, I was out on the tarmac fueling airplanes, towing airplanes and dripping in sweat, working overtime, even though it's my job to work overtime. Yeah. But being out there with them instead of being behind a desk and pointing, you do this, you do that, you know what I mean? Like being out there, it's gonna.
Well, what you're describing is, and I'm just gonna shoot it over the bow, that's the difference between an employee and an entrepreneur. Yeah. Even though you were an employee at the time, you still had a different mindset.
You were acting as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah, and having been doing the entrepreneurship side, I kind of see how a lot of that. It's crazy being on the other side of the lens now, and it's kind of like now I'm the boss that everybody has to look up to. I have to make all the big decisions. I have to do all this, and but at the end of the day, I'd never wanted to change who I was as a leader. So I'm on majority of the shoots, with my guys.
But at this point in your career, you wouldn't give making these hard decisions up to go back to what you were doing, would you?
No, never. I could never feel like being an entrepreneur now, I could never go back to
even if the decisions are hard, you would rather deal with the hard decisions for your team.
Exactly.
Than
100%. Honestly, I just really pride myself that I'm able to provide a career path for creatives.
Absolutely.
Because it's hard to do it in this area. Yeah. So being able to provide that to people, I love that. Yeah. So
it's a lot more of I hate saying it, but it's a lot more of an accomplishment here than it would be in any other like city market or something like that. I truly mean that.
It's even like this podcast, a small example. I mean, I won't get names and details, but I had somebody that I communicated with last week who left a corporate job of 15 years and has started their own business in the last 4 months. And it's not because of our podcast, but in the conversation I had with that individual, listening to our podcast over the last several months has been a big part of the final decision to finally do it.
That's inspiring.
And so to hear that, even if it's a teammate or a client, an employee or not, to create an environment and a mindset that opens doors for people like that, even that you don't see on the regular. But I've seen this particular person in person twice in my life, and it's because I used their services for something else, and staying in Facebook relationship. She started her own company
Yeah.
Because she watched a few of our episodes and said that it was the strategy and the conversations, and it made me just finally do it.
Probably makes you feel really good.
That's huge.
too.
Yeah, that's huge.
I think I'm something I am extremely passionate about when I say this is that if you have that inkling feeling inside of you to do something entrepreneurial or leave a job, it's very, very hard, and you can hash up all the reasons on a pro and con sheet why you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I can't sit here and tell you how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But what I know is if you have the fortitude and the gumption to take the leap, and you really do have that burning desire inside of you and something you're passionate about, you will figure it out.
And eventually you're going to make the leap. Eventually you're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's the truth about it. So Rachel's point a couple of episodes ago, Hurricane Michael, eventually something in your life is going to come across and it's going to force you to make the leap. So if you think about it for every day of your life while you're working that job, do it.
And there will be times that you're broke. There will be times you're 10 times more stressed than you were when you had a secure income. But I'm still happier pursuing something like that than I was being stuck wondering what I could be and could do. It's like my own shit. You know, like even though I'm in shit, it's my shit. And I know one decision tomorrow could change how I get out of it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think it's very hard to wrap your mind around making that leap. And I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy. I'm not going to tell you might not lose some things in the process, friends, your car, your place you live. I don't know. It might be tough, but it is worth it. I feel like life is worth living, not existing. Absolutely. And it's tough to do, but I'm very passionate about if you have that burning desire to do something and you feel like you can impact someone, don't be selfish and not do it because you doing it may impact someone else.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and it's been, I've faced a lot of challenges along the way, and, you know, it's Thursdays where I'm like, I don't see the light yet. You know, I was like, don't know where it's going. It's just been, you know, I took a lot of hits. It's
lonely too.
It does. And it gets very lonely and scary, and, you know, but, you know, the
reward is always worth it.
It is. And I'm very committed to everything that I've done. I've literally had two civilian jobs my whole life.
Yeah.
Or sorry, three civilian jobs my whole entire life. And that's it. I mean, I know I have brothers that's had more jobs in a year than I had my whole entire lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's
kind of what it takes, a focused commitment to be good at anything.
Yeah. And I've always strived to, like, hey, when I'm at this company, I'm gonna get to the top. And then and then once I'm at the top, I'm like, if I'm not going to go any higher, I need to go somewhere else.
I'll stop.
Keep moving. Right. And then entrepreneurship made it easy to, like, I can literally, there's no ceiling for me now.
There is no top. Yeah.
There is.
I can get to the next level and then start working on the next one.
Exactly.
It's like an insatiable appetite almost.
Because, like, we're at this point now where we're like, hey, let's expand to Nashville.
Let's build a second team.
Let's build a second
location
team in Nashville. And then, hey, right after that, we're moving, let's go to Atlanta. And then let's go to Savannah, Georgia. So now it's like, I thought I was almost at my ceiling here, but now I'm like, I just made so much more.
You, as we all find being entrepreneurs, the appetite is really insatiable. You stay focused on that level and you go get it. Mm-hmm. But when you get there, like, you already have another level planned in your head. It's kind of like a disease, but a good disease.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So this is the final question that I like to ask everyone on here, kind of a more deeper philosophical question. I know you've probably watched it at least 15 times. Let's ask this question.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to prepare for this one.
But if you had to give one piece of advice for our listeners, personal, professional, at this stage in their life, the most impactful piece of advice that you could leave with someone, what would that piece of advice from you to them be?
I've had a couple of them, but I've already kind of prepared myself for this question because I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But I would say, and we were just on it about spilt. I was like, no, I'm gonna wait till the very end because I know I'm about to say it. But take the leap, take the jump. It's, even though it's scary, you're going to find a way. And every jump that I've ever took in, it's been the scariest. It's almost like a life. It could mess my life up or it could change my life. But I found out, like, every time you take that leap, and I feel like everybody has that instinctual, they're gonna make the best out of it. And making every jump that I've made, even though it was super scary, I had no idea what's going to turn out. It was the best decision I ever made. So leaving a 6-figure income job to do this, I was like, people were telling me I'm crazy. You know what I mean?
You were telling yourself you were crazy.
I was telling myself I was crazy. And I'm like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
But I found a way. And now I'm like, I would never be here today if I never would have left that job.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And I think, you know, the whole idea of like leaving something and burning that ship at the shore, if you will, like you have no escape. That's really the only way to figure it out. A plan B is detrimental to plan A sometimes, I think.
If you're making a plan B, then it's probably plan A already.
Yeah, that's true.
In this mindset, in this world that we live in, if you're having a plan B, at least in my head, is important. But if you're focusing more on plan B, then you already don't believe plan A.
Absolutely.
Whether it works or not, you just got to stick through it until it absolutely doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Worry about plan B when plan A is a failure, not if it's a failure.
Yeah, and you know, I don't ever want to live life in regret. You know, if I never
Yeah.
take the jump and be like, hey, what if I would have done that? You know, you never know. You know what I mean? Until you do.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that. And we appreciate you coming on. It's really cool to have you help us kind of do this and get this off the ground and produce it, and then have you kind of share your story with us on
absolutely,
the podcast.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just remember like texting you. I was like, you know what? I could get on there too. You know what I mean? So yeah, when I texted you last month, so it was really cool. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely.
All right. That's Cody from One Shot Productions. We hope you guys tune in for
One Shot
episode
Creations.
One Shot Creations. One Shot Creations. Episode 17. We're actually going to have Nathan and TJ from Abbott Martin Group, also with the XP Realty, the team we formerly were on, and they kind of helped us get our start on our own. We're super excited to have them on. Hope you guys can tune in for that one. That's episode 16 of It's Personal, an Entrepreneur's Podcast.